and welcome to 50 Fabulous Knits. My name is Pia. I am a Danish knitter coming to you from my old farmhouse just outside of Copenhagen, where I live with my husband Peter, my best friend Anne, and also now my youngest son and his lovely family. At the end of the episode, I'm going to talk a little more about life here on Højgården, but you can easily skip that if you're only here for the knitting content. And I have quite a lot of knitting content this week. Before I jump into it, I'm just going to remind you about our current Knitalong, the Knit and Be Kind Cow, which is a very informal knit-along where we focus on kindness in our knitting. All the details from the knit-along is going to be in my show notes, along with, of course, links to everything that I talk about on this episode. And the show notes you will find by clicking on the link in the description box below. That will take you to my blog, and there you will find show notes for this episode and all the previous episodes. So, I have 5 finished objects this time. This is crazy, but most of them are teeny tiny things. But I am going to start with a not so teeny tiny thing, what I'm wearing. This is my Scrappy Stripes, a new pattern that I am working on. It is being test knit at the moment, so I hope to be able to release it soon because this is to me a perfect summer t-shirt. It is, I'll try to stand up. I don't know that I can stand so that you can see it. Maybe if I bend down. Okay, here we go. It's a fitted t-shirt with some waist shaping to it. It is it falls just below the waist, short sleeves, and then it has, of course, the stripes. That's the only thing that makes it special, I was gonna say. It's a very classic rounded yoke thing. All the edges are just raw rolled over hems. And then you have this stripe pattern. And if I move up a little closer, and now I'm sorry, I'm all in your face now, but I want you to see how when you add the new color in the stripes, you do one round of a little slip stitch so that the colors blend together very beautifully. The other thing this slip stitch also does is it kind of hides the increases for the yoke. I don't know about rounded yoke. I think it's so pretty. I really like the look and the fit of it, but I don't like when you can see all the increases. And I think this slip stitch pattern does a fairly good job of hiding all these increases. I have named it Scrappy Stripes because I'm actually thinking that it can easily be knit out of scraps, which is also more or less what I have done. I started up here with some leftovers from my Feel the Burn. This is my own hand-dyed yarn in the colorway Ståpia and on my sock base. The next is part of a swirl that I bought when I was at the McKinney Knittery in Texas. It's from Eve to Yarn, and she doesn't name her colorways. She doesn't put any numbers on them. She dyes what she dyes, and I was really lucky to find this swirl, which was 5 mini skeins swirled together as one big skein. So that was this color, and it is also, now I need to look, this sage green color, and it is the darker green that I have here. There were obviously 2 colors more, but there were much more saturated, deeper colors that I didn't like the look of them in this particular project. So they're gonna go into some other lovely project. I've also put in leftovers that's leftovers from my Feel the Burn that was made with leftovers from my crossover top. Again, my own hand-dyed yarn. This is the colorway Gulag. And this is on my merino sport weight base. So I'm mixing bases, 3 different bases in this one. But I think it looks beautifully. I also put in the gray here. That is also my own hand-dyed yarn in the colorway Pilate. Again on the merino sport weight base. So, but I'm guessing you could use anything. I tried to make a sort of a repeat where I did the brown and then something, and then the gold and something, brown, something, gold, something, so that the brown and the gold are repeating throughout the top, but then with various colorways mixed in between those. I weighed this top and it weighs less than 200 grams. So if you have little scraps, or if you have a couple of beautiful single skeins, that would be perfect for this pattern. Costume change. This top is too cold for a day like today. So this is how I often use my short sleeve sweaters in colder weather. I pop a little jacket over them or a cardigan or whatever, and then I get to enjoy my knit almost all year round. So anyway, for this Scrappy Stripes, I knitted at quite an open gauge. This is sock yarn and it's merino sport weight, but the gauge is 20 stitches and 28 rounds to 10 by 10 centimeters. So you get quite an open material, which is super nice because again, it doesn't get too hot, and the fabric gets a really nice drape when you're using such an open gauge. So I'm very, very happy with this one. I love what I see that my testers made. 2 of them already finished within a matter of days. It's a really quick knit. And the thing about knitting stripes is that it fuels itself, because you always want to just see the next color. What happens with the next color that I add in? So I hope to be able to release the pattern very soon. I also did some crochet this week. Actually, I crocheted 2 things. I have none of them to show because, as I said, I now live with my youngest son and his family. So my granddaughter Isabella has already taken them away from me. I did try to keep them for the podcast, but she couldn't hold on any longer. This weekend is a long weekend in Denmark. It's actually a 4-day weekend, national holiday. So she's away on a trip, and she needed, of course, to bring her dumpling kitty, which I crocheted for her. I only got a really bad photo, so I'm gonna pop a photo of the original. This is a free pattern on Ravelry, and I saw it at Autumn Acorn Knits where Judy made the cutest little dumpling kitty, and I was like, oh, I need to make that. And I cannot say enough nice things about this pattern. It's super simple. It's so quick and easy to make this beautiful little kitten, and it is super, super cute. I crocheted mine out of some leftover drops air that I had, which is a rather heavy yarn. I used a needle 6mm. So it's a fatty kitty. It's a bigger than the pattern actually calls for, but yeah, it's a cute kitty. Isabella, now that she lives here, often comes here after school. She will come up to me in my craft room here and she'll hang out while I go about my business. Actually, she also dyed some yarn one day. The skeins up there, I don't know if you can see them. Two small mini skeins that she dyed with a friend that she brought home from school, and that was just such a nice day. But anyway, she was sitting in my craft room waiting for me to finish up my stuff, and she was flipping through this book. And I just checked. In English, it is called, here it says, Animal Friends of Pika-Pow. This is such a nice book. As you can see, it's just the cutest little things that you can crochet. And they're quite simple, these patterns. Not as simple as the Dumpling Kitty, but quite simple. So when I finished what I had to do, she handed me this. I put together a wish list, Grandma, she said. And how could I not make the alpaca for her? Just look, I got a photo of that one. Marcia the alpaca, isn't she just adorable? And quite simple to knit. I like this book because there's it begins with a lot of instructions on how to do this and how to do that. So I'm no big crocheter, by no means, but I have had no problems making any of the animals from this book, and I've made quite a few now. Of course, my elbow hurts, but one day, I'm gonna find a better technique for my crochet so I don't hurt my elbow. But not today. Two more I have, because of course, Isabella has a younger brother, Victor. And I did show you this on my last podcast, that I started to make the family sweater for him, the same sweater that I knit for Peter and for little John in Texas. Victor had his birthday last week, and I finished the sweater in time for the birthday. I don't have Victor or the sweater or even a photo, but I'm just gonna put a photo of what the sweater looked like. And I have talked about this sweater at length on numerous previous episodes. It is this very simple raglan shaped sweater with some Estonian braids going over the yoke. And I am going to write up the pattern for it, but I think probably I'm going to wait a little because we're well into spring now, and I don't see that anyone wants to sit and knit like heavy winter sweaters. All of my family sweaters are knit out of Drops Lima, which is an alpaca wool blend. I love that yarn. It is so sturdy. It is so warm because of the alpaca, of course. It's a real workhorse of a yarn, and it is super budget friendly. So in my world, that makes for a perfect yarn for sweaters for the small ones in the family. The last finished object that I have to show this week is this small dishcloth. It is nothing much to write home about. It is simply cotton held double, like a light cotton held double, knit up on needles 3.5 millimeters, 40 stitches, and then I just followed the pattern for the half and half wrap from Pearl Soho. And I did this as part of an experiment because I am almost done with the half and half wrap that I started when I was in Texas. I'm just going to show you how far along I am with that one here. I have project bags all over. And yeah, I am mid-row. Good job. But look, I only have these very few stitches left to turn, and then I will be done with this amazing wrap that I can't wait to have it off the needles because I want it on my shoulders. But I was also a little sad, like, no, I don't want it to end. I love this knit so much. And then I was thinking, well, it's no problem. You have another one. This is the second half and half that I cast on because a long time ago I cast on this one and I knit half of it. The first half, her first triangle here, whoops, like this, is knit in Drops Fable, which is a sock yarn. And then I added in the second color. It was a green hazel basil from Yarn Bee Authentic, the one that I got at Hobby Lobby. And it was a beautiful green. It was so pretty. It was just too green. It was too much color for me. I don't love color. Yeah, I do love color, but not in my wardrobe. Also not in my home. But yeah, I can appreciate color, but this was just too much color for me. And I showed it off on my Danish podcast last week, and then one of the other Danish podcasters actually wrote me saying, you know what, if you don't like that green, why don't I take over for you? So we decided to do a yarn swap, and I ripped back. I will say it's no picnic ripping back because you end with this. There is only 2 rows after all these German short rows, so it's not as neat as I could have wanted it to be, but I'm sure it's going to blog out fine. I hope so. So now I have a blank canvas to work with. I mean, this is just brown. I can put anything on the other half. What I wanted to put on the other half was stripes. Yeah, obviously I'm all about the stripes right now. So I thought either I would do black and white stripes, which is probably what I'll end up doing, or I would do pink and white or pink and black. But I think I'm gonna go with black and white stripes. That's gonna look beautiful, like relatively, what do you call wide stripes? But I was a bit uncertain if I could do this, if I could pull it off, because with the half and half in the original pattern from Paul Soho, and I can easily talk about it in much detail because it is a free pattern, and of course I'll link to it. But what you do is once you are done turning and making all your short rows, then you knit 2 rows with your new contrasting color. And obviously I didn't want 2 rows of either black or white. I wanted the stripes to go all the way into the brown. Like you can see here, whoops, the blue and white goes all the way into the black. So I made this dishcloth just to test if it was possible, and well, It is. It's not so neat from the back side, but I'm going to fold the wrap anyway when I'm wearing it, so that's not going to bother me. I don't know if you can do this if you do the wrap and turns. I've never tried, but I don't know if you would need to do the striped section first and then a couple of rows of the single color and then knit the single color last. For sure, I didn't want to rip back half of a half and half wrap. That's a lot of knitting, so I needed to make it work, and I did make it work on this one. So of course it's also gonna work on the big wrap. So yeah, a nice dishcloth. This is actually, I mean, this goes very well with my home. These are colors of my home. So I'm gonna enjoy that, and I am gonna plug away happily on this one, knowing that I do have a second half and half wrap to turn to once this is done. The colors that I'm using for this one, I should probably say in case you haven't heard me talk about it already. This one is the linen quilt that the pattern was originally written for, the linen quilt from Pearl Soho in the colorway Peony Pink. And this is an undyed base of my own yarn. It is, I'm sure you can get these yarns all over, like a black and a white thread spun together or twisted together. I don't know the terminology. But anyway, I like this. I'm sure you can find that anyway. And I really like how these two colors go together. I like the very soft look of this pink. That's very springy, nice. And then the more graphic and heavier look of the black and white. I really love those two together. I do plan to work on this one more or less monogamously until it's done. I want it off the needles. I want to wear it. But also it's not as enjoyable now as it was in the beginning. I mean, you start out with these 260 stitches and your rows are really long, but it doesn't matter because you're at the beginning of a very new project and everything is so exciting. And as you're perhaps losing steam, your rows become shorter and shorter and shorter and more manageable. And then you get to add in the new color. You get to start all the way down here with the new color, and your rows are again super short and quick, and you can just see it grow, and it's so wonderful. But now I'm at the point where my rows are pretty long again. And the shawl is heavy. It's a lot of knit to be sitting with, so it's bulky. It's not as manageable as in the beginning. So I want to make sure that I push through now so that I get my wonderful wrap to cozy up with. And once I'm done, I get to start the new colors on the old wrap. So yeah, I do have a couple of other projects that I'm also knitting on. One is a very new cast on that just needed to happen. When I was in the US, I had ordered some yarn from Stacy at Stress Knits. I had ordered this color. It's her winter floral on her sock base. This is her label. And it's so beautiful. I bought this skein together with another skein of hers with the idea that I would make a white shawl with some color work with these two colors that I bought. But I don't see that happening. That the shawl never really came to me. And I was looking at these single skeins that were just so pretty and so wonderful, and I thought, I'm probably not the only one who has these single skeins of yarn that were just so pretty that you had to buy them. You couldn't not buy them. But also they were kind of expensive, so you only bought one because you didn't want to take out a new loan on your house. So I decided to see if these one skein wonders could be used for a project. So what I am trying, and I actually think I'm gonna make it, I am trying to make a calazzo with this one skein. So here is the very first beginning of a calazzo. I'm just gonna pop my my picture of it. If you've been following the podcast, well, thanks for coming back, and also you have probably heard me talking about the calazzo. But I was looking at the yardage, and it does look like I can get away with one skein and then just adding in some silk mohair because I wanted, I didn't want it as open as it would get only with the sock yarn. So I added some silk mohair, some kit silk from Drops. This is the color number 20. It's this light sandy beige, which goes together so beautifully because it picks up on some of the colors in the stress knit skein, but it doesn't overpower any of all the action that goes on here. And then I am just using Drops brushed alpaca silk in the white color for the lace section on the yoke. So yeah, I think this is going to be really, really pretty. And I have quite a few single skeins laying around that could be turned into beautiful calazzo tops. So that is definitely a summer project. And these tops knit up super fast. You're on needles size, is it 6 millimeter? I think it is. I'm using my Lykke needles because they're, I really like when I'm working with mohair and the brushed alpaca. I really like the wooden needles because they do have a little more grip than the metal needles, and I really love that. And yeah, these are 6 millimeters. So it's a rather thick needle, so you can see when you've been working on it. The last thing that I am working on is something that has, it has been driving me up the walls. It's my Texas tea. Let me show you where I'm at. It is living in this beautiful project bag from the Urban Stitcher. This is a bag like this one is part of the prices for the Knitalong. So if you like the Urban Stitcher, if you like this bag, make sure that you enter for the Knitalong. Yeah, let's see where I am at. Here. Not a lot of work, but I promise you a lot of hours has gone into this project. I have been knitting and ripping back and knitting and ripping back. And I do know that every time you rip back, you get twice the enjoyment of your yarn, but still, enough is enough. But now it seems to be working. My plan is to make a very roomy, boxy summer top with a deep raglan, short sleeves, and then on the body, some color work. And I bought some beautiful yarn again at the McKinney Knittery in Texas. This one is actually the yarn that got me going, because I was feeling a bit overwhelmed. I have never been to a knitting store like that. So, but my good friend Linda gave me the idea to go for Texas hand dyers. So I found this skein. This is from Blue Mule Fiber, and it is the Midnight colorway. It's a 75% merino, 25% mulberry silk, and fingering weight. And it is so beautiful. The colors are just glowing, probably because of the silk. They have such depth, and it is just so pretty. So this is going to be the main color, and then I'm going to do the color work, and I will include the Texas 1-star, the Lone Star State. So of course, I'm going to pay tribute to Texas in that way. But yeah, this is a very slow go. It has been a very slow going project. I think the fit is right now, because that was my problem. I couldn't figure out the right fit, but I think I have everything figured out now. So this is something that I am really looking forward to working on, alongside with my calazzo and my 2 half-and-half wraps and whatever else may pop into my head in the coming weeks. One of the things that could pop into my head or onto my needles in the coming days could be one of the shawls from this glorious book, 52 Weeks of Shawls from Laney Magazine. Now, of course I got the book. Of course I'm loving the book. And I will say, I think I could knit every shawl in this book. I probably could. I couldn't do it in 52 weeks for sure, but I have picked out some of my favorites. So let's look at it. This is the first one that I was like, wow. It has my name written all over it. Isn't it just gorgeous? But then I looked at the pattern and I could see that it looked like a little more work that I was perhaps willing to put into a shawl. I think at some point I am going to make something similar, but make it easier. Just knit it up in like long, what do you say, stripes, long pieces, and sew them together rather than knitting it as one piece. But it is so beautiful. This one I would knit exactly to pattern. I love everything about this. I love how girly, romantic it is with the little lace pattern. And I love those edges. The edges really does it for me on this shawl. Wow, it is beautiful. Yeah, that is definitely going on my needles. And this one. I actually think that this could be a nice way of transitioning away from the half and half wraps, so that I'm not going to be knitting half and half wraps for the rest of my life. This looks like the same kind of simple meditative knit, calming, soothing, and a beautiful end product. For sure I'm going to make this one. And the last one that I picked out was actually also the first one that I picked out. This one. It comes in a crochet version down here and a knit version up here. And I'm obviously going to go for the knitted version because knitting is that's my game. And it's just beautiful. So, so, so pretty. So yeah, one of these might happen. Something completely different might happen. You never know with knitting, and that is the beauty of it. So with that being said, I think that was it for the creative content this week. So if you were only here for the knitting and the crochet, I'm just gonna say goodbye now, and I hope that you will have a nice week. And yeah, if anyone wants to stick around for a little chat, I'm just going to talk a little bit about life here on our old farm. It's not a farm. It used to be a farm. Now it's just a farmhouse. But it's nice, and we have a lot of space here, which is a good thing because, as I said, my youngest son just moved in with his family, and that is happy days, happy days. I really enjoy having them around. We just have a good time. I'm sure everyone probably has heard about hygge, this Danish word. We hygge. Yeah, it's a verb. It's something that you do. And we do that. We do that all the time. It is a big thing in Danish culture, hygge. I don't think you would be able to follow a Danish person around for a day without hearing him or her using some variation of the word at least 3, 4, 5 times. It's in our DNA. It's about doing something intentionally, doing something fully. So if you're together, then you're really together, and that is hygge. It can also be something that you do to your surroundings, that you make them hyggelig. So maybe you light a candle, or you place some nice throws or some cushions, so that you want this sense of being embraced and taken care of, feeling safe and relaxed, calm and content, and actually also to some degree concentrated on what you're doing right now. Yeah, a big part of hygge is light. If you have access to a Danish person, you should try to put them under some really bad lights, like fluorescent lighting or something like that, and just watch them as they squeak and squirm and try to wriggle their way out of the uncomfort. Yeah, don't do it too long. It's not good for us. We need good lighting. Yeah, but that is what is going on Højgaard these days, is hygge. We are really enjoying having, especially the little ones, so close. As I said earlier in the episode, Isabella will often come up here after school and just hang out with me while I do my thing. And then at some point we'll sit together. I will do some knitting, and we'll either talk or we will watch some television. She's all about, I think in Danish we call it Robinson Expedition. I think it is it Castaway or something in English? The show where you place some people on a deserted island and they need to survive. It's called Survivor. There you go. They need to survive and try to get along. Yeah, she's all into that. So we'll often watch an episode of some of the old seasons, and then we will play Robinson or Survivor. Yeah. I typically get voted off the island, often in favor of one of the dogs, because they have 4 legs and I only have 2. Yeah, it's all fun. And little Victor, he is just, it's just a joy to be around him. And I feel very, very blessed to have this opportunity to be so close with my grandchildren. So yeah, all good things to say here. Oh, also, I am getting my COVID shot. On Saturday, I'm getting the first shot, and then in some weeks, I'll have the second, and I will be fully vaccinated. I am so looking forward to that. I think that was it for this episode. It feels like I've been talking forever, but anyway, I am going to end things here. Thank you so much for watching. I really enjoy our little 50 Fabulous family. Enjoy your knitting, enjoy the spring, and I hope to see you again next time.